Welcome to What Do You Want to Do? The show that will hopefully help you figure out what you want to do in life or reconnect you to what you love doing. Each show has a guest who is doing what they love to do, whether it's in their career or in addition to their regular job. Most importantly, we want to help you realize that no matter your age, you too can do what you want to do if you have the will to do it. Now here's your host, Leonard Caplan.
Welcome to the show. Today it's going to be a little bit different. Now, all these interviews are not time sensitive, so what you're about to hear happened a few months ago. I interviewed Dorothy. We'll refer to her as that because she's a visual artist and prefers to be anonymous. Doesn't really like talking about herself. She's a great friend, someone I've known for many years, and because of this, she managed to turn the show around for some of it, and she actually interviewed me. Then at other parts, we kind of interviewed each other, so it turned into a real conversation. It was completely unplanned and spontaneous, and that's what's good about it. I wasn't going to show this, but as I was editing it, I realized that we touched upon many subjects that people might identify with. So, without further ado, here it is, my conversation with Dorothy. Welcome back to What Do You Want to Do? And on today's segment, we have Dorothy, an artist, and we're going to explore her background a little bit. Now, Dorothy, I'm going to explain to you a little bit about the premise of What Do You Want to Do? I often say, and I said it in the first episodes of the show, that many people, probably most people, have some desires when they're young to do certain things in their lives. They discover a talent, they discover a hobby, they discover something that's really fun. And some of them end up doing it as a career, while others don't end up doing it at all. And they don't realize it sometimes, but their day-to-day lives, and if they get married and in their 5-day-a-week, 9-to-5 career job, they are missing that. They don't have the energy to even think about what they did in the past. So some of them will nostalgically remember, gee, I remember when I played guitar, or I remember when I used to go skiing. I remember when I used to train my dog to do all kinds of tricks, things like that. And they just don't have time to do it anymore. They don't think about doing it anymore. Some even will say, okay, that was childish. And that's what bothers me when people start talking that way. They said it's childish, or worse. The worst thing of all is when friends and family don't support them in what they want to do other than their careers. So I don't know what category you fall in and what art you do, and that's what we're going to talk about. So, Dorothy, we're going to turn it over to you now to tell what you want to tell.
Well, I'm hoping you'll ask me some questions because I'm not sure what exactly you want to know about me. But before we do that, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What are your hopes for people to get out of this podcast?
That's a great question because it forms the basis of why I'm doing this show. So this show, I'm hoping that people who listen will be inspired, that no matter what age they are, they can get back into what they used to love to do, or they can discover, even at a late age, what they would like to do aside from their career. And if they're really lucky and they desire it, they could actually have a second career that is something that they love and not something that they wait for Saturday for it to end all the time. They can do it whenever they want. Does that make sense?
It does, but here's a tough question maybe for you is what about the people out there who have the desire and know that's what they want to do and they would love to do it, but that they are like stretched so thin that they don't have time? Like what if, like, with the family and the job and the taking care of the house, and like literally what if they know all that but they seriously don't have time? Is there a way to like help them figure that out, which I think would be awesome.
I don't have any specific advice, actually, about that, and maybe that's something for another guest, an expert in such things, can help us figure out. But you've touched upon a question that I really haven't thought about,
Let's,
and there are people like that. Many people are like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
But maybe I would say this: that in some way, by reminding them, I'm certain I don't want to make them depressed,
no.
and in remembering what they left to do and what they want to do. But
I don't think that would happen. I would think that they would say something like, I'm aware of this. I know I have the desire. I feel it. I truly feel it, and it is there. However, I am truly like have no time, like literally have no time.
right,
And
right.
I want to find out, I don't know. Maybe there's I don't know.
I mean, are there? This is a naive question. Are there people who work 7 days a week? I guess there are.
I wouldn't say it's the people that only work, but I say it's the people who work, have a family with multiple children, like you're raising these souls and you're putting all of your energy into this, like you're
Right,
sacrificing everything for those children and
right.
you work and you know what I mean? Like
I do.
it's like a head thing, like, oh yes, I would love to. However, these souls I have to mold into being good people. I have all my responsibilities at work. I just am sacrificing this for, and I know, I don't
Okay,
know.
you just asked the unanswerable. That's the last episode of the show. Goodbye, folks.
No, 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 no,
I'm just joking,
no,
but no,
no.
I think
I don't want to be.
no,
Yeah.
no, no, no. I'm teasing.
But no, to think about it though, I'm not trying to do anything but bring that up. You know?
No, that's perfect because there comes a time, and I was talking to a friend of mine who has two sons today,
Yeah.
and she runs a business and her husband's business, and we were talking about after the kids get a little older, she'll have a little bit more time. Right now, she has an infant and a
Ooh, yeah.
toddler,
Oh yeah.
and there will be at least a little bit of a window of time because she's
Yeah.
getting burnt out with between the kids, between the business, and I'm sure I'm hitting a common theme with a lot of people's lives here. So
Yeah.
if not now, you can plan on doing it someday. It's better than thinking about it in the past and having it remain in the past. Maybe it's something that you can strive for in baby steps. For instance, like practicing guitar like 5 minutes a day. I've been practicing my guitar for like maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes a day, and my piano. Uh, I've gotten to a certain level in both of them that I want to get past after all this time. I have the luxury. I teach school, and I get out like 3 o'clock or something like that, and I do have the time.
Yeah. It's lucky. It's good that you have that, and it's lucky. And I'm just saying, there's people out there that do, who went to school for, fine arts, and now,
Oh yeah,
it's
yeah.
there. They have these little, I don't want to be corny, but they have the only little pieces of art to grow. I don't know. It's weird. It's just, I totally love the fact that you're focusing on inspiring people to do art. I think we need more of that.
Yeah.
And I also think we need more of showing people that doing that doesn't make you, like, give yourself permission to do it. Don't say,
Right.
oh, I can't do that.
Oh, exactly. And I'm
That's
thinking,
you.
I'm thinking of a friend of mine I grew up with, and I remember we were in high school, and he said, "I'm going to join the hockey team." Tried out for the hockey team, was never cut out of the hockey team, but he quit before he was cut. And to this day, I'll say to him, you
Oh,
don't know, you have no idea how far you might have gone. And he was
yeah.
good. We used to play street hockey and ice hockey and stuff like that. And
He never told you why
some
to quit?
why? Yeah, because he thought he wasn't good enough. I
Oh,
think one of the worst things that we do to ourselves sometimes as humans is put ourselves down. It's bad enough when
Yeah.
somebody puts you down. But if you start putting yourself down, there's no coming back from that unless you get out of it yourself, unless you go
Yeah,
to therapy, I guess,
yeah, I think we as a nation of people mainly were brought up under some form of spiritual religion morals, and I think some of us were taught to, you know, that it was almost like vain to be proud of yourself or to,
Right.
and so I don't know.
It's true. Pride, yeah, there's always that. I know that's a Judeo-Christian kind of a thing, that pride will kill you, and pride is
Yes, isn't
this.
that sad? That's
It's
horrible.
very sad. It's very sad.
That's,
So, pride, there's a difference between pride and boastfulness, and I don't think people
yeah,
make that distinction.
I don't
It,
either.
it should be made.
Yeah,
Self-esteem, I guess, is a closer word to what is good,
yeah, yes, yeah.
but
Healthy self-esteem in order to, like, how it's okay to say that you're doing a good job and to encourage yourself. Like, that's a good thing to do.
yeah.
And we were made to not think that, which I think is a little messed up.
Yes, no, I agree. Now, audience, I'm talking to the audience now. I think Dorothy is trying to deflect us from talking about her. Because I think we've got 10 minutes or so talking about the premise of the show. No, it's all great. This is great conversation, but I do
Yeah.
want to get focused on you, and then we can come back to this on your art. Or now, I'm expanding the premise of the show lately because I realize there's more than, and I don't mean to say just art, but there's more besides art that people do. I happen to know 3 animal rescuers,
Oh, that's
three fosters.
yeah.
They foster animals, and that's such a great thing to do. And I'm sad to say that I don't have the intestinal fortitude to do it myself. As much as I love animals, I would fall apart every time. I'd have 20 dogs. I'd have 100 dogs or
Yeah, I think
cats.
that a foster fail when you end up keeping them, which is so nice,
Yeah, but you wouldn't have a house left if you had like 50 of them.
Right, right.
Or you'd wind up in jail. But
Yes, that. Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, if they end up in jail, I think they get the. You're right. I am deflecting.
So tell us what you want to do and what you like to do, and possibly what you did want to do when you were younger that maybe you don't do as much of it now, or maybe you're getting back into it. What's your story, Dorothy?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I was younger, I did love to draw. I doodled a lot. I guess I didn't know that I love to draw, but when I look back, I see that I drew a lot and that I was always drawing and I don't know. My childhood memory isn't that, I don't really remember that much about my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do know that I was a creative person. I knew that about myself. Like, I could see things and point out things that to me, I didn't think other people were doing. And like, I'd say, oh, look at that. And they're like, oh yeah, whatever. But to me, it was like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. That's so amazing. This like form of grass with sun on it or whatever.
Right.
Or, things like that. So I had an idea that I was creative, but I just didn't know what direction, like what I was supposed to. I never was really shown that or taught that. I was just like on my own. So I didn't really know. And back then there was no Google or internet to
Right.
find, or YouTube to have these, lessons.
So is it safe to say that you were creative, but you never defined it or was able to define what it was about you that was
That's exactly right.
right?
That's exactly right. And I just wanted to, in my head, I wanted to like learn about everything. Like I wanted to learn about, but you know what I mean? There was no focus, no direction, no like, what is my purpose? I don't know, but I know that about myself. So there you go.
Now, what age are we talking about here?
I don't want to do ages.
Well, I mean, there's
Because-
a difference between a 5-year-old and a 10-year-old,
That when I was aware of those things?
Yeah.
Oh, I can tell you that it was before going to high school.
Hmm.
But again, I don't really remember like 1 to 5, 1 to 6. I don't remember that time really. So,
Hmm. Hmm. Now,
um,
I know, well,
it's
I mean, let's be honest on this program here, even though, I know you, we've known each other for many, many, many years. And I
yes.
happen to know you're a great writer and
Oh,
you're very creative in a lot of ways. You're very visual
thank you.
and, the sky's the limit, I once was thinking that you and I would make a good writing team,
Oh, that's so nice.
for comedy. I never told you
Yeah,
that, I
I like
guess.
writing comedy.
And yeah, we
Uh,
used to talk about Saturday Night Live all the time, and
yeah, and the skits. Oh, those
and
really are
the
hard.
skits. Yeah, you were involved in a show with me that
That's
was like the highlight of my professional life, to be
oh
honest
no
with you.
way. Oh,
Oh yeah.
that's really actually I that's interesting too. But it's also cool. Like I feel like we have bragging rights, but it's cool that that was so great. I wish you had more though, but we'll take that one. Some people have none, right?
It's just like what I'm doing right now is one of the things I've always wanted to do all my life is interview people.
That's
In
awesome.
fact, when I was a toddler and my mother would have Dick Clark's American Bandstand on, and I
Okay.
would go to the kitchen and get a nutcracker and hold a nutcracker as a microphone
Oh,
because it
cool.
looked just like Dick Clark's mic. It
Because
really
you
did.
wanted that's so cool. So you were inspired by that. That's
I
awesome.
was, and I always wanted to do like a radio show, and the era of podcasting is just very intriguing. So this is like a real podcast. Now I happen to I'm deflecting to give you a rest. Okay.
Thank you.
When I was
Ah,
an intern at Emerson College, I was a guest. My friend was an intern for Larry Glick, who used to be on WBZ. He's one of the greatest New England, possibly national radio hosts of all time. He was funny. He was irreverent. And he had great stories. And when I remember I was about 20 years old, 21 years old. I went into his studio during the show being in progress. And I'm
yeah.
thinking, wow, I'm here. He had all the lights off, just like little lamps, so he could see some of the controls. He had an engineer, but it was
Mm.
like really dark. And ever since
Are you
then,
gonna
I've
make
always, what's that?
it sounds like cozy.
It is. It was just
Yes.
really cool. It kind of reminds me of like when you're a little kid and you take a
Yeah.
flashlight under a blanket or something.
Oh
You
yeah, yeah, yeah.
know? that's
Yeah.
that's what it reminded me of. So
Awesome.
I
It's like
always said if I ever did radio, that's the way I would want to do it with the lights out. That's why I'm closing
mm,
my eyes right now.
cool. That's so cool. It's like that's so awesome.
It's fun.
It's a dream come true for you, which is cool. You know?
And I'm going to stress this. I made it come true for myself. I bought the equipment using money that I do, from my day job, which is teaching.
Yeah, yeah. Yep.
It's just it's one of the things that I love to do. But my first love, it's a toss up between what I'm doing now and writing. And writing has been like amazing, and I have to credit my grandfather for that. My grandfather would tell me stories, and he inspired me to write them down. I wanted to write them down. I knew I didn't want to forget them. So I would write them down and I would call it writing a book, and,
That's
looking back on that now, it's like, it's kind of gibberish. And then
is
later
that,
on,
you
my
still have the
father,
book? You still have the book that you wrote down?
oh yeah, I have all that stuff.
Oh,
I've never thrown away anything that I've written, believe it or not.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. If I could help it. I mean, sometimes with age, I'm getting up there.
Uh,
With age, some of the paper gets yellow and brittle and gets lost.
You know,
Um,
my 94-year-old neighbor said to me the other day,
what's that?
"Oh, to be 70 again."
Yeah. No, that's a truth because now I'm 64 now. I'm not ashamed to admit that. But when you're looking at 64 from when you're 20, when you're in your
Yeah,
30, in your
yeah.
40, it seems you have
So,
these images in your mind that society plants. And I feel inside I'm the same, or if not better than I was when I
yeah,
was 30, except
yeah.
when I look in the mirror. a little bit, but
Yeah,
I
and
see
which is
little
like,
signs.
yeah, which is, that's I I agree. I think a lot of people feel that way, and I don't know if they feel like ashamed to be that way, like, oh, I shouldn't behave that way because I'm, this certain age, so I'm supposed to behave this way. So I can't do these things that I enjoy and have fun with. However, there's the generations that are coming that do the gaming. I've noticed they're in their adulthood now and they still game,
Right.
which I think that's really cool. They're staying in touch with that side, is what I think.
Have you
So,
heard of Twitch?
oh yeah, yep.
You have. What do you know about Twitch? Because I just learned about it a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, it's where gamers go to watch live. They watch gamers play live. That's what it started out as, I believe. It started out as I think it's grown now, but it originally started so people could watch other people game live.
And what I learned last night, actually, my friend, who people would know, she's going to be on the show. Her name is Medusa, and she was in WWE and ECW, not ECW, WWE and WCW, and on the Independents and the AWA. She's a member of Twitch, and she invited me on, and she told me that you can put podcasts on Twitch, which I
Oh, cool.
didn't know.
No,
So,
yeah. I knew it's grown a lot, but I figured it was just whatever, like, oh, huge. That's cool. So is that where this is going?
and you could make money doing that too. But that's secondary. I would like that. That would kind of,
No, you could say you could. It's fair, and I
you
don't
can
think there's
monetize
anything
it.
wrong with saying that I want to make a
No,
lot of money
there
someday.
isn't. There
Yeah.
isn't. No, I'm not ashamed of it, but I just want to make clear that I'm not just in it for the money. If I was in things just for the money, I wouldn't have done half the things that I've done. I've done
Yeah, yeah,
wrestling commentary. I've done wrestling announcing.
yeah.
I've done that comedy show with you and so many other talented people on that show. And if I waited till somebody hired me to do it, I never would have tried it. But let's get back
Gotcha.
to you now.
No. I said I'm thinking in my head. Actually, literally, this is what I was thinking in my head. I said, "Man, I will do an interview with Len any day. This is perfect for me because I just."
So wait, you're turning that you want to interview me?
No. I think what's going on right now is actually really cool. So,
It's fun, but I
it's
do want to get back into you though.
it's interesting though. Just
Well, the topic is very interesting because you can go anywhere with it,
Yeah.
and I think a lot of people will identify with it. I have another friend, and he used to read history, and he knew a lot about. He forgot probably more than he knows now, as what he'll say to me, and I always say to him, well, he's well off, and I'll say, well, why don't you do it now? And he
Yeah.
kind of
Like I'm too old for that.
brushes it off, I guess.
I'm too old for that. I can't
He
learn
doesn't say that, but
Oh.
that might be what's in his mind.
Oh, yeah.
And that's
Well, I'll tell you.
a shame.
It is.
But
And we're one of the places I work. Speaking of that,
mhm.
there's a lot of people who say that, and they're well into their senior years. And they have the time, but in their head, they'll think something critical, negative, and they'll. So it's nice for me because they'll come into the room, and I'll feel that through what they're saying. They'll say little comments like, I can't draw that, and little things, just that definitely gives that vibe off. And I say, look, I said, we're all here, it's your mind. We're here to learn. I don't care how old you are. It doesn't matter. I don't care if you've never done it before. It doesn't matter. I'm going to show you that you can do it. I have a drawing class, and it's the resistance is unreal. And it's nice to see them hear someone tell them that it doesn't matter how old you are, and that you've haven't done it for a long time. You see this like kind of relaxing. I'm like, it's, I don't know why we do that to ourselves. It's pretty harsh.
It's something about getting older and you stop developing fast like when you were young. So I got to tell you this. This is a fascinating topic that I'm going to bring up now, or an experience, I should say. So I had the experience. I worked at a summer camp. Actually, you worked at the same camp too.
Hmm.
But later on, I worked in an after-school program with kids even younger than the camp that you and I worked with.
Mm. Oh, wow, like
So
toddlers.
those kids, not well, they were like 7,
Oh,
6, or whatever, and
5 or 6.
they were fearless. I wrote
Mm.
this
Mm.
adventure for them to act in, and
Yeah,
every kid was unafraid to act
that's so
and
nice.
do whatever I said.
Yeah, yeah.
And you take
I,
those same
I want to
kids.
keep that. Yeah. Not long after, right?
What happens between age 7 and 11 or 12? There's something that sets in that
Yes.
brings all this inhibition. And it's either implanted from without, partly, or brought up. And I think when it's implanted from without, like from a critical parent or an uncle or an aunt or a brother or a sister or somebody older that they know, it it will take root in the person, and they will be the most self-critical people
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yes, definitely. It's definitely society, familial imprinting, you said. Definitely that. And here's my question. Do
Hmm.
you think once that's there, it's there forever?
It doesn't have to be. It takes a lot of work to get it out, I would say, you know.
I agree. Which I think is really cool to
If
know
you
that.
can do it.
Probably.
I mean, in some people, it's so, and it also depends on the sensitivity of the individual as well.
Yeah.
Some people are so sensitive that they
Hmm.
can build the biggest walls between themselves and other human beings,
I know.
you know.
Yeah. For the
Hmm?
slightest thing too, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Not like they were, not that they were, brought up in a closet for, 10 years, which has
Right.
happened. So it's interesting how something very on a independent scale is not considered that traumatic,
Hmm.
but can be so traumatic to that person and have that be valid. It's a valid trauma to them, but
Exactly.
some people, I don't know what that's about.
And that's another symptom of, you ever hear like people say, well, don't be a baby. That's nothing. Well, yeah, that's nothing to you, but to that other person, it's
Yes.
devastating, you know?
Yeah. Yes.
That's
And
exactly
the ability to bounce back from that is somehow
right.
hampered too. For what reasons? Who knows? Like, why can some people have this horrible life and are so happy and
Yeah.
full of life,
Yes.
and something very minimal can happen to someone and they're a wreck for life.
Exactly. And some people are very resilient, and some people get squashed like a piece of paper.
Yeah, what
You
is that
know,
about? I don't know
I
what that's.
don't know. I mean, if we knew the answers to that, we'd be, in demand.
Or killed. I don't know.
Or killed. Are we
uh,
living in the Middle Ages here?
trust no one.
We're living on the X Files.
Meh.
But seeing things from both sides like that, seeing kids completely uninhibited and open to anything, and
Mm.
and then seeing them on the other side, it's just so eye opening. It's tragic. In some cases.
Yeah, and I'm sure there's individual cases, but I think the moral, it's just something that needs to change. We need
There
to
are
try.
also people who are born like really shy. They're born like that. I've seen that too.
Yeah,
Even when they're babies, like
yeah,
toddlers, they
yes,
they
they're
they, they hide.
yes, and I hate that too because I think people are starting to appreciate introverts more. I don't know about school age kids though. I don't know if they. I think it depends. I think kids are smarter. I think kids are getting smarter.
Hmm.
We are evolving, I think, intellectually.
Hmm.
So I do think like this generation is less critical
Hmm.
of introverts now. So I
Hmm.
think it's really cool.
I hope that's the case. I don't know. It's a really hard question
Yeah.
to answer.
Oh, let's be.
Um,
Yes, I don't know. I have to check out.
so, what's your favorite art?
Oh my goodness.
You thought I was going to forget.
My favorite art right now, I'll tell you, is watercolor.
Watercolor. Okay.
Yeah. I yeah, for the last like 3 years, it's been watercolor.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a little trickle of photography as well. Um,
Mm-hmm. I remember you
I
took some
am a
good pictures of me one time, a couple of
I,
times.
I am an award-winning photographer. I can say that. I've won best in show and first place, and
That's awesome.
yeah. So that's it.
Congratulations.
Thanks. It
I
is
didn't
valid.
know that.
Yeah. See, because I keep that stuff to myself. See, I told you I'm not like I just am kind of private, which not because I am afraid of people, but I really enjoy. I would, if you need time alone as an introvert, you
Hmm.
cherish that time so much.
I
It's not,
understand.
people think that you're like, oh, a loner or whatever. I'm like, oh no, are you kidding me?
Hmm.
I love that time. It's energizing, and I think
Hmm.
introverts should embrace that.
I mean, that's one of the things that celebrities lack is that valuable time alone. They can't be alone. They're not allowed to be alone sometimes.
Celebrities?
Celebrities, sure. They're
Oh,
always, they can't go in public and be alone in a restaurant. They'll get recognized,
oh yeah, that's
you
funny.
know? So that's the advantage of being a non-celebrity. I think the ideal form of celebrity is to be known for your art, but they know your name, but they don't know that that's you. And then
That would be so cool. Yeah, yeah,
when
yeah,
you do encounter them, they don't know it's you. You don't
yeah,
have to tell them, and you'll know
yeah.
what
That
they really think of you. You know?
which probably proves that there are not a lot of introverts in Hollywood.
No, no. I mean, I was talking about this the other day when I went to Emerson College. I knew a lot of stand-up comedians, and there was one guy in particular. He could not be normal. He could not have a normal conversation with anybody.
Yeah.
He was always performing, and I think a lot of people go into comedy because they can't deal with real life. They have to create this fantasy world. Maybe I don't know.
I don't know. I think it's how they deal with life. I don't think it's that they can't deal with it. I think it's how they
Yeah,
deal with life, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
I don't think they're in an alternate reality. I think they're just, you know, it's
Well,
their therapy in a way, you know?
it
You're talking like stand-up comedians,
yeah,
right?
stand up comedian. I think this is a skit that you and I talked about because I wrote this a long time ago.
What?
There's a sign, and this really happened to me. I was at Emerson, and I
Yeah.
saw a stairway, and I saw all these depressed-looking people going up the stairs in a line, and they were
Oh, yeah.
waiting and waiting. They looked like they were going to a funeral. So I looked up, and I saw a sign that said comedy auditions.
Oh my God, I don't think you've ever told me
So
that.
I actually did a
Oh,
little video with that same skit, but it didn't come out that well because I didn't have enough people to fill up a stairway like that,
oh my God.
It's something
That's
I'd like to reenact someday. It's a
just
good little
so,
skit.
so funny. I have a bad memory. I So what were we talking about? That's funny.
So,
That's
so
funny. Good.
let me ask you this now. Okay,
All
I'm going
right.
to ask you this. You don't
Oh
have
yeah,
to answer.
watercolor.
You
Okay.
you okay? You don't have to answer. We're going to get back into watercolor. But
Okay.
do you think that there is, besides the fact that you like to be alone and that
Mm,
it's great having alone time, the
mm.
fact that you're reluctant to talk about, and it's been like pulling teeth to get you to talk about this,
Oh, you're on to me.
might have to do with
Oh, you're on.
any, and you're stepping on me as the host. That's what you call when you interrupt someone. You don't do that on professional radio.
Sorry. Sorry.
Do you think that might have, and again, you don't have to answer this, do you think that your reluctance to talk about the stuff that I'm asking might have to do with having been overly criticized when you were younger?
Yes, I would say ding, ding, ding. Give that man a prize. Definitely, definitely.
So, do you do anything to work on that? Well, actually, I think coming on the
Oh
show
yeah.
is an act of courage right now for you.
Yes, this is very uncomfortable. However, learning to be, learning to know that it's okay to be uncomfortable is a very important thing to
Yeah,
remember. And
it,
so,
it is.
yeah. So, yeah.
I mean, I can see you doing a podcast about art, about painting and photography. That would be an amazing podcast. I would listen to it.
I like doing this podcast with you. We could be like the next Howard Stern
And Robin?
and Rob, but on a clean level, and about other things.
Well, that's quite a compliment. That's pretty awesome. But I this is fun for me. Just, I like to kavyak, as they say in Yiddish.
Yeah, it did, but to me, is really dependent upon who it is with. Like
Definitely.
I
Yeah.
like doing this with you because I feel like I don't know, it's cool with you. But
Well, I think I have the ability to make people comfortable. I think that's one of my, because I can make kids comfortable. I make parents comfortable. I'm a non-threatening person,
If they only knew. No, I'm just kidding. I agree. Oh, evil laughter. That's good.
That's funny. That's funny.
We have fun. That's fun.
But, and okay, so do you have any formal training in painting?
I am a self-taught. I did take a few lessons from other artists, but I did not. I am self-taught.
Great.
It runs in the family. My grandmother taught art, and she was an artist.
You told me that a long, long time ago.
You remember that?
I do.
I have bad memory.
I do.
That's awesome.
I mean, I can't remember what I did 5 minutes ago, but I can remember things from years ago.
That's interesting.
I remember things.
Yeah,
I remember things that happened. I just forgot what I was saying.
You have your memory, how you can remember some things from a long time ago, but not like 5 years.
Yeah, no, I know. That was my little attempt. A very lame attempt at humor. No, I remember things from my childhood and my teen years and my formative 20s and things like that. And I take a lot of pictures for that reason, so that I can go back. The last 15 years, actually the last 5 years, I think, are a little bit more shady than the rest of my life. I think.
Shady doesn't. I don't think shady means.
Not shady. No, shady means sinister. No.
Yeah.
I mean a hazy. Let's put it that way. Hazy.
Oh, okay.
More hazy.
Not sinister, because you said
not
what
sinister.
What are you doing?
I'm a shady person. No, I'm not.
I rob banks every Thursday. Man.
It's memory is
That's interesting. I wonder why that is, though.
I don't know. Now, here's something about my art. No, I started off also drawing a lot, and I loved comic books, and I still have my comic book collection. And my original ambition as a career was to be a comic book artist.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah, I never told you that one.
No.
And so I wanted to go to art school, and I told my parents, and they said, "Well, we'll pay for your whole college, but we're not going to pay for art school." Okay. Now that may seem mean to you, but back then the World War II generation grew up in the Depression. Both my parents, and there was no starving artists were more numerous then. There was no Photoshop or Lightroom or Illustrator back then. You couldn't be a graphic designer or anything like that. I mean, on a more primitive level, it was much, much harder to break into and to make a living doing that. So I chose to go to Northeastern for liberal arts, and I tried to major, and here's a tragedy in the making. I tried to major in chemistry. Did I ever tell you that?
Do you know why? Did your parents say you should be a chemist?
My father was a chemist, and I felt obligated to follow in his footsteps, and I was encouraged to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost flunked out of school. I was flunking physics. I was taking physics. I had no business in that class. I was taking calculus. I had no business in that class. And I hated it so much. I hated the subway ride into school every morning. I dreaded it. It was a horrible experience. So
Did you graduate? What happened?
Well, this is freshman year, and then I finally was very upset. I told my parents what my grades were. They saw the tests that I was bringing home, And I
Okay.
said, I can't do this. I can't,
So did you
and
do it for a year or did you do it
I
for
did
half?
it for the first semester, like from September to December.
Oh wow. So you like that's awesome. Like right away you're like, no, this isn't happening.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I didn't
I
live with
think
it. I
people
didn't.
that's awesome.
A lot of people would stay in that,
Yeah.
and I couldn't. I would have flunked out of school.
Mm,
So
that's
I said, well, I'm going to be undecided, and I started taking history, which I absolutely loved. It was
mhm.
so different from what I was doing, and I just loved it. But I had no ideas of being a teacher. I just kept taking stuff that I loved to do. Now
Yeah.
that's also kind of another mistake, because when you take things in the arts, you should have a little bit of business know-how, or something like that, something practical, so that you have control over your work, like
Yes,
knowing
that's
copyrights and stuff like that.
yes, very, very, very underdeveloped and almost like, well, maybe it's, I don't know, it might be different now, but I do think it was underdeveloped. Like you're not supposed to care about money. You're not supposed to worry about that stuff. And I
Well,
think a disservice because you do perpetuate the starving artist thing where I think, I think like, again, it's okay to make money, you know.
back then, but see, I was encouraged to do something practical, according to my parents. Remember, I'm an only child. I didn't have any role models, other than my parents, like people older than me, like an older brother or something like that, that had gone into the arts or anything.
Would you consider a visual TV person and a possible idol inspiration,
Or a
mentor,
specific person. Um,
like your radio guy there that you loved, the Lenny
Larry
Clarkson?
Glick. Yeah, that encouraged me a little bit. I never thought of going into radio, though. I did do at Emerson. I did a radio news service for the blind. I would read books and things like that, and go in every day at a certain time and do that. But I never
Every
auditioned
time.
for the radio show. What?
I just thought of a skit where a guy who does that, he goes into the book place, and
He
every
goes
time
in for a what?
he does that job, but every time he comes in, he uses a different accent or dialect.
So he fills all the shifts. That's funny.
Or no, like every time his job, oh, whatever, just for his.
I did have to do that one time, because later on, when I did Wrestling Talk that was my wrestling talk show that we've done for 31 years.
Oh wow.
Paul Fay was my original co-host, and when he got sick, he was in the hospital for his colon cancer. I was stuck. We had a radio contract with WLYN in Lynn, Mass,
Yeah.
and I had to do the show by myself.
Oh, they
And
wouldn't let you.
the guest I had on the phone wasn't available, so I had 2 hours to fill.
By yourself.
Okay, so I started doing my characters. I was interviewing myself.
Oh no way! Do you
It
have that
was
recorded?
it might, if it is, I have it on reel to reel somewhere.
Oh, that's so cool.
But
I'd
it
love
was
to hear
pretty
that.
scary, man.
I bet it was so funny, dude. I bet it was funny.
Well, thank you, but I hope so. I don't
That's
know.
bring that that's
You're
yeah.
such a great deflector.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right,
Watercolor. I'm into watercolor right now for like the last 3 years. Right?
yeah,
3 years. So right now I'm doing watercolor of a house. I showed you a picture
that
of
was
it.
a beautiful
Yeah.
piece, and
I have to tell you though, it's a mixture. It's part my photography and part painting.
did you paint over the photo?
I have a way of taking the photo and making it printed out onto the watercolor paper.
Huh.
So I have it like,
Wow.
yeah. So
That's a technique that photographers used to use. My bar mitzvah painting is a photograph with an artist painting over it.
oh no way.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
I'll have to take a picture and send it to you.
Yeah.
You can see what it looks like. It's in my living room.
That's pretty cool.
Hmm. Now, why did you choose watercolor over oil?
Um I have chosen watercolor over oil because of I love the way the light bounces off the watercolor. I
Mm-hmm.
love that luminescent quality of it,
Mm-hmm.
where oil is like, the very thick, opaque.
Mm-hmm.
The watercolor image to me really I love that image. It feels, I don't know, it feels so good in my
Hmm.
like it feels right, the right thing to look at. I don't know.
Very
So
interesting.
yeah, I
What
don't know.
about acrylic?
What about acrylic?
Have you tried that?
Oh yeah, that's what I started with, and I love acrylic. It's I actually did. Are you leading me?
I'm leading you. I'm leading you in the
Very good.
direction that I know I'm not going to keep you there
Yeah,
long.
I'll try. That I was commissioned to do a project. You're good. You're good. They I was commissioned to do an art project, an art installation, and that involved a lot of acrylic. So, and the interesting part is I had been doing watercolor for 3 years, somewhere around 3 years, more or less. And to switch over to acrylic was, I was not expecting it to be as challenging as it was. And I appreciate the experience, but it is a different enough medium where you're like the rules in your head all changed and you're like, ah, so that took a little while. But so I appreciate getting that flexibility. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, watercolor, I missed watercolor. I can tell
Mm-hmm.
you that.
So that's
How's
interesting. So
that?
you went away from it. That's very good. Now, do you
I'm feeling very vulnerable.
any other art that you do? Like, do you sculpt at all? Have you ever tried sculpting?
I did not. I did ceramics, which I really loved,
Well,
and
that's kind of sculpting.
pot- yes, and I did enjoy the touching of it, but um, I have a little OCD. I don't know. It wasn't like I didn't feel as connected to it as I did to watercolor. Let's put it
Mm-hmm.
that way.
So
And for
I can tell you're getting uncomfortable. So I'm going to say something about myself again.
I'm
So,
actually pretty good.
good. I could kind of feel a little bit of a quiver. Maybe it's my imagination. I don't know.
Wishful thinking. I don't know. I'm just kidding.
No,
I'm just kidding. And there's nothing wrong with that. Just saying.
not that there's anything wrong with that.
Exactly.
The old Seinfeld joke.
Oh, oh man, that was imagine being a writer for that. Oh my
Oh,
god.
that would have been heaven. That
Oh
would have
my
been
god. So awesome.
amazing to be on
We
that
need
writing
another
staff.
son. We need another show. Not obviously not copying that, but we need another.
A show of that caliber to watch.
Yes, yes.
There's a vast wasteland. I should not actually. I gave up watching television, other than things from my childhood now, because I don't like to. I don't like to. And you and I had this conversation about how people are proud of binge watching. You
Oh my
know,
god. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, that's a whole
and
podcast.
that's a whole other podcast. That it's we don't want to put people down, but
No, no, and I have done it. I'm not
mhm.
one of those, it's yeah, it's definitely a cultural thing for sure.
But
Well,
I want to just tell you my own painting story. So I did oil painting, and I still got my oil paints here, and all of a sudden, well, gradually, I guess, and then finally, all of a sudden, I just quit, and I
hmm,
never painted again. And the reason for my quitting, and this you'll recognize, this sounds like me. It was
mm,
too sloppy. It was too messy. It was too hard to clean up after, and
mm,
I hated it because of that.
mm,
But what I didn't realize was that my love for storytelling is what I was reaching for. Like, I used to get that feeling when I painted or when I drew that really evolved into my writing. My writing is what
we're meant to do.
yeah. I mean, I was going to say living for, but that's maybe a little bit too
Mm. You felt
dramatic.
you felt that feeling inside of you, right? That like
I did.
that
I did.
pull.
I
That's
did.
how. That's how I feel about watercolors. Look, and bring it back to me. That's how I felt about watercolor, you know,
Very good. Very good.
because yeah, and well, that's just everyone's different. They're all gonna have their own thing,
Yeah.
obviously. So whatever works.
Now, if I was younger or more inexperienced, I would say if somebody told me that they quit one thing for the other, I'd say, "Oh, that's really sad that you did that." It would be sad if I didn't do anything else after that, but it evolved into something else, and in a way, I still feel I'm doing it because I get the same feeling writing than I did painting. If
Yeah,
that
and
makes any sense.
I don't think it would be a sad thing. I'd be like, oh, cool, you found out what you really like to do. That's awesome.
Yeah, and I still like for the kids. Sometimes I'll draw cartoons and make them guess what it is
That's cool.
because I practiced for so many years, like drawing Santa Claus and Mickey Mouse heads
Now
and
let me ask you,
dog heads.
here we go now then.
Yes,
Why aren't you doing it? Why aren't you drawing cartoons? Careful
Be-
now.
because writing, I can paint a picture by my writing now. That's the way I actually picture it. When I make description,
Yeah.
and I read it later, I can actually picture. And I hope that's not just me. Other people have read some of my stuff. I don't think you have. Or have you? Have I
I
sent
have.
you any
I have.
chapters?
I have.
You have.
And I
So
have seen, yeah. So you don't miss drawing cartoons. Is that then am I gonna think
no, I don't because I mean
okay, that's
I know
cool.
it's there if I need it or if I want it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I just thought it sounded I wasn't sure if you have missed doing it, I guess is the if you don't miss doing it, I think that's even better. Oh, like that's like superstar.
I mean, I love it so much. I get up at 4 in the morning and 4:30 in the morning, and I will go over what I've written. I'll plan what I'm going to do next, and if I
Yeah.
have time, I'll start a new chapter or a paragraph, and it's a very very slow process, and
We know
I wait for those inspirational moments, and sometimes they come. You got to make them come by practicing, you know.
yeah, that's definitely not a sad thing. That's an awesome thing.
Uh-uh.
I think it's
So,
awesome.
and anyway, so
Yeah, so
these.
I teach adult classes. I taught a recent class I had was a drawing class,
Mhm.
and that was a challenge because they were very self-critical. However, by the end of the class, they're like, I didn't know I could do that. So I felt
Right.
good about that. One gentleman had Parkinson's, and I showed him, I gave, the exercises and showed him. He drew the line without, his first line was shaky because Parkinson's,
Hmm.
as you know,
Sure.
people. By the end of the class, he was able to control to have a straight line drawn. And the important thing about that is that he was psyched about that. So
That's amazing.
that made me so happy. Yeah, like that. Like he
Oh yeah.
got something, right? So, I mean,
That's
it,
worth it all right there.
it is. It is.
That's
And so
amazing.
I enjoy
The
that.
self-critical part, you conquered two. You helped him conquer two obstacles:
Yeah.
self-critical and a physical obstacle, the Parkinson's itself.
Yeah. But, well, he was an artist before. He's
Right.
an ultimate. So he missed it. He didn't,
Mm,
I think he thought he lost it because
right.
of
Right.
he was so happy. And
That's
that really,
great.
that's, so,
People are full of miracles like that, and you always see people who maybe they lost their arms and they paint with their mouth, like what they hold the
yeah,
brush with their mouth or their
yeah,
toes, or that
yeah.
guitar player that play. I met that guy. He played guitar with his feet,
Oh,
which is amazing.
that is so amazing. Yeah, I would never, if I didn't know of those stories, wouldn't think that you could do that. Until I saw those stories, I'm
Well,
like, oh
that's
my,
the thing. That's what's so brave about it. Like, if you don't know of anybody who has ever done that, how do you know that it's possible? You know, and it's things like that that make me say, now we had all this we have all this privacy from COVID-19 now, and all this time to be at home.
mm-hmm.
And I said to myself, I've had the same skill level at guitar and piano for years and years, and I want to crack the barrier. I want to show it's possible to get better at
Yeah.
doing that, so
You
that's
want to
why I've been
play?
practicing.
Oh, I was gonna say, do you want to? Would you ever play on live stream for people to like watch you?
I don't know about live. I'm not performance quality yet. I've been practicing a song I wrote every night. Actually, I was playing just before we started this podcast.
Ooh, audience members, can we get him to play it for us?
Audience members.
Yeah. How can we get him to
I
play it?
hope I can get to that point where I would be confident enough to do that. But I got to get through this obstacle. My own self obstacle is I always make a horrible mistake at somewhere in the song. It could sound really good, and then I'll make a mistake. But that's, everybody has their own demons to conquer.
Yes, that's a thick wall. That's a tough one to get
It
cracked.
really is. It
Yeah.
really is. Well, anyway, so listen.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, yeah.
I think this was a very diverse. I hope people can follow our train of conversation, but I think it flowed very well.
Yes.
And I appreciate you coming on and saying what you said, and I want you to come back, and we will focus more on you the next time.
Oh, no. I like what we were doing today. Let's do more of that.
Deflect.
No, but I'm serious though.
I wonder who you learned that from. Oh, we won't get political on this show.
What? Oh my goodness, no.
Anyway, thank you for joining us. And for all of you out there, what do you want to do?